If you're looking to build a brand in 2019 and beyond, you have to be on YouTube. And guess what, everybody? We've got probably one of the greatest individuals who helps us build our YouTube channel in the game today in Nick Nimmin. If you want to learn and get inside the head of one of the greatest, you need to come on back. We'll see you soon. Hello, good morning. Well, for some of you, this might be good night. Welcome to the Nez Nation Live Personal Branding 101 live stream podcast. Come on in. You're going to get so much out of today's show. Stony Creek, how in the world are you, brother? Good to see you. Midnight Madness, Launchpad Astronomy. Please make sure you share this out because we are going to have an absolute blast today talking to somebody who I think is probably one of the best in the business when it comes to understanding how to build and grow a YouTube channel in today's era, Mr. Nick Nimmin. We're going to bring him on in just a second. Thank you, Christian. Good to see you. Good to see you, Chala Dog. Good to see you, Stony Creek. We miss you. It's so nice to have you. You couldn't have come at a better time. You guys are going to get so much out of this show today. We're not just going to be talking simple tactics, tips, and strategies on YouTube. And let me know how I'm coming in if that's okay, if you don't mind. I updated a bunch of stuff. And of course, you know, when you go live, you never know what's going to happen. We're not just going to be talking about YouTube tips and strategies, even though that's going to be a part of the show. We're really going to be getting into the mind of what I think is probably one of the best creators on this platform, especially one of the greatest helpers, inspirers, teachers, coaches on, YouTube related stuff and everything YouTube, and video marketing. And so I'm really thrilled. I can't wait to have him come on the show. He's going to call in just a second. Before we do, if you're new to this channel, I am Professor Nez, your personal branding coach. We talk about mindset and messaging. This is a show where we help you build your online reputation so you can grow your career and or your business. We're helping you discover your purpose. Who are you? What are you all about? What do you bring to the table? Communicate your message. You have to get that across in a clear and concise manner to attract the audience that you want, so that you can actually have something sustainable, create an experience, and really create a presence in what I think is 21st century communications, and that's personal branding. CK in the house. Good to see you, CK. How are you, sir? Thank you so much for being here. Please share this out. You're going to get so much out of today's show, and stick around to the end, because I am introducing a brand new questionnaire. Thank you, Christian Reddy, Launchpad Astronomy, for retweeting. I am going to be asking Nick a brand new questionnaire, the Marcel Proust questionnaire. He doesn't even know this, but I'm going to be throwing some real heavy questions at him towards the end, after we have a nice conversation that I've never done before, and I'm introducing it right now on Nez Nation Live. There's some fun, some depth, there's some silliness, but it's not really a lightning round, although you could kind of call it a lightning round question. But I think Nick's going to be surprised, and I think you're going to be surprised. So you want to make sure to stick around towards the end, because I'm going to ask him some pretty zany questions, to say the least. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we are sponsored. Our live stream podcast is sponsored by the greatest online training academy on the planet. That's BeyondTheBoxAcademy.com. Have you enrolled in BeyondTheBoxAcademy.com? What in the world is wrong with you? Why haven't you? And if you're watching this on really quickly, I'm not getting my comments from Facebook, Periscope, and Twitch. We're live in 4 places. YouTube is the main place that I'm monitoring the comments. RPM Nex is in the house. Good to see you. So if you are watching this on Twitch or Periscope or Facebook, go to youtube.com/Professor Nez and come join the live stream chat. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, we always advocate, come hang out with us, come chill with us. We want you live so you can engage. I'm monitoring the chat. If you have any questions for our awesome guests, we had Dale Roberts not that long ago talking about LinkedIn and how he's crushing it with LinkedIn video. We're going to be talking to Nick Nimmin. I've got a great guest coming up actually tomorrow, who's going to be talking about creating courses and monetizing your content. We're just bringing it to you here at the Personal Branding 101 live stream podcast. But if you want to come join the conversation, please go over to youtube.com/Professor Nez. We would love to have you. Okay, without further ado, who's ready? Let me know in the chat. Who's ready to have one of our dear friends, longtime guests? He's actually been on the show several times now. And he's going to be calling in really quickly. Nick, if you can hear this, go ahead and call on in. I want you to introduce yourself. But before he does, let me just tell you that this is somebody who, we talk about influencers, and I'm not really a fan of that word. I'm not sure if he's really a fan of that word. Let me bring him in here really quickly here. Yo, Nick, are you there? How are you, sir?
I am here, and I am fantastic, Professor.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk to you, brother. I don't know if you heard.
Likewise, man. It's been a while.
It has.
Man.
It has. It's been too
Too
long.
long, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing absolutely great, and it's so nice to have you with us, Nick. I was just going to say before you called in, I was just going to say that, I'm sure you're not a big fan of the word influencer, even though I consider you, if you really look at the strict definition of the word, it's somebody who inspires. It's somebody who influences people to take action, to do things that otherwise they wouldn't. And I've met a lot of so-called influencers, and I've met you in person several times. We walked the plank at VidCon. We did. We walked the plank together. Yeah. Or I should say we did not jump off of the plank together. It was so funny. And those of you guys watching, if you don't know, Nick and Dee, it was so awesome because you guys know the Nimmin brothers. I was such a wuss. I was such a nanny. I couldn't do it. It was so insane. We had so much fun. It was when IGTV first came out, and I was actually vlogging on IGTV. And anyway, I wanted to say that, I've met so-called or quote-unquote influencers, and nobody is as genuine-hearted, as down-to-earth, and as sincere as, and I'm probably embarrassing him right now, but it's my dear brother, Nick Nimmin, and it's so nice to have you here, brother. I know there might be one person who lives under a rock who doesn't know who you are. if you wouldn't mind just really quickly telling our Nez Nation audience, and come on in, we've got the chat is livening up. Tell our Nez Nation audience just really briefly a little bit about you, and then we'll get cooking.
First, I want to say thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Very, very nice of you to say those things. They're all lies, every single one of them. So basically, my thing is I teach people how to grow YouTube channels, make videos, and all types of other YouTube-related stuff. And within that, one thing that would be appropriate for this show is I also try to basically use the content that I make in addition to helping people with what it is that they're doing on YouTube. I also try to use the content that I make to uplift people when I get the chance to, or encourage them to keep going, or, encourage them to take responsibility or whatever that thing happens to be. But for me, I use video just as a way to, one, help people. Two, of course, I make, money from it. And three, it's also a stage of sorts that I can use to basically inspire people, or just try to put some good out there into the world. Because, that's what we're trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And I call, the whole premise of my show and my channel is mindset and messaging. I think the epicenter of your success starts with your inner game. I don't care if you want to be a teacher, a janitor, a YouTuber, a CEO, you want to be a good father, a husband, boyfriend, friend, whatever. It starts with your inner game. We talk a lot about that. And then communication. That's, to me, personal branding is just a fancy phrase, Nick. All it means to me is 21st century communications. I truly feel that we are the luckiest human beings of all time to be living in a time where I can communicate with Thailand sitting in my am I in my boxers? No, I'm wearing pants. Sitting in my boxers, 6,000 miles away. It just absolutely blows my mind. And not only that, let me ask you this, Nick, because I'd like to just get cooking. Guys, if you have any questions for our incredible guest, leave them in the chat. I'll be monitoring that. I've got my mods in the house. Thank you, Christian. It's just amazing to me that more and more people are not engaging in this. I do some presentations. I know you do keynote speeches as well, Nick. You find that people are still reticent. They're still apprehensive about this thing called online content creation and building something that communicates their message. What do you think in your travels, and maybe you have an answer to this or something you can offer, what do you think it is that's holding people back? Are they still kind of like not so sure about this internet thing, or is it just a matter of some kind of anxiety or what have you? What would you say?
I think it's fear and know-how. Because with this stuff, you have to be willing, because you're putting yourself on the internet, and you're putting the image of yourself out there on the internet also, and you're putting how you communicate on the internet, and how you look, and how you dress, and your thoughts, and how you view things, and all of that. You're putting all of that out there. You're making yourself vulnerable, and I think that a lot of people have difficulty just saying, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to put myself out there because I think that this is what I should be doing. I think that people are just afraid to. And then in addition to that, you also have the technical learning curve, because, it's becoming increasingly easier, to where a lot of these sites you can just go, you can click a go live button, and then you can be live as long as you have a webcam within, a matter of seconds, which is awesome. But then if you want to start making everything look cool, then, the technology, the learning curve steepens, right?
Right.
So because of that, I think that, the fear side of it, and then the technology side of it is a really big barrier for a lot of people. And even once they do get started, let's say that somebody wants to go live as an example, or even make videos. So a lot of people, if they go and they don't have the technical side of it, they might make one video, and in their mind, they might think, man, this sucks, because they're going to compare it to people that have been making videos for a long time, because that's the type of, that's who you watch, because they know how to make stuff look a certain way to get it in front of people, right?
Right.
And they have that expectation on themselves when they're just coming into something, and right away they'll throw in the towel because they think, well, my stuff isn't as good as this person's stuff, without taking into consideration this person's been making content for a year or 6 months or 5 years or 10 years or, whatever the case is for the particular creators that they're watching. But I think that it's those two things that are really the biggest hurdles that people come across. And the fear, I mean, that's no joke. Like I almost didn't start making YouTube videos for the same reason. The very first video on my channel, and this is something that I reference a lot, but the very first video on my channel is about how to overcome camera shyness, because I had to overcome that process myself. And by doing that, I said, okay, well, I'm actually going to make this my first video because it's something that I'm having to deal with right now. So I know there's other people out there that are having to deal with this. So I'm going to make that video number one.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting. With something that I try to advocate, not only to my audience, but to my clients too, is that, don't, and we talked about this. We had Dale recently on the show, and I know you know who Dale Roberts is.
Oh yeah. Dale's awesome.
Yeah, Dale's awesome. And we were talking about the idea of embracing imperfection and not being worried so much about every single thing being right. I mean, we all want our content to be amazing. We all want to reach the biggest amount of people. I still believe in my heart that I'm gonna get 7 billion subscribers, even though I'm not worried about it, because I feel like I have the audacity that I'm that good and I have something to say. I love what you said earlier, Nick, about having something to say, and it's not about the vanity metrics. It's about actually doing good stuff, and it's about actually like helping people. Talk to us a little bit, Nick, about your mindset as a creator. I mean, congratulations. You just passed, and I'm sure you're way past that by now, the 400,000 subscriber mark. Congratulations on that, brother.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that's just insanity. What's the process now? I'm just curious, because when it was 100,000, when it was 50,000, when it was 20,000, I'm sure there's all these different phases. Like, what is going through your head now, man? You're like, wow, I've almost got 500,000 subscribers. You're well on your way. I know you're going to get the gold button and beyond. What's going through your head on that? I mean, how's that feel?
It's awesome, for starters, but like with anything, it's like when you are, like from the outside, people are like, like, wow, that's awesome. And I agree. It's awesome. It's an accomplishment that I'm proud of. I think it's, I think it's really cool. But on the flip side of it, it's like when you're the person doing it, it doesn't seem as awesome because you're the person that's going through, like when this shuts off and then I get back to my computer and I start working again, like it goes back to the same stuff that I've been doing since, video number one, right? So because of that, like all of that stuff stays the same. The only thing that changes is, your subscriber count, your view counts, maybe the money that's coming in and stuff like that. And because of that, like you're caught in, or not caught in, but it's like you're going through the experience, and people from the outside, they get these little touches of, hey, this video is uploaded, or they're live talking about this, or, a conversation happened here or there. But, when you're just doing it all the time, then pretty much everything pretty much stays the same. The only thing that's different is like what gets tracked is a little bit different. So for example, one thing that I really put a lot of weight on is, like if I'm generating a lot of emails where people are like, hey, I just watched this video, helped me out a lot, blah, blah, or I almost stopped. And then now, I watched this video and I'm going to keep going for it. And, things like that. Like I measure those as one of my metrics more than I measure like how many views did my last video get, for example. Now, don't get me wrong. I keep track of that stuff also, and that stuff is also important to me, right?
Yeah.
But those are also things to where it's like, okay, well, I've got some good momentum going, and things are going in the right direction, and people respond to the stuff that I put out, and like all of that, like I've gotten used to that side of it. So then it's like, okay, well, what's the most important here? How am I helping people? Like if people give me feedback on, ways that I've helped them, then that's like the metric that I'm trying to stay attached to.
The title of this broadcast, Nick, is how to, grow on YouTube the right way, or how to get subscribers the right way. I say the right way, even though, is there such a thing as the right way? Well, there's definitely the wrong way, but I mean, everybody has a different way, right? But I mean, the reason I said that and the reason I put that on the title is because I feel like out of all the YouTubers that I follow, out of all the YouTubers who are offering YouTube related advice, right? I feel like you're doing it in such a way that is proof. I mean, you have proof. You're growing so steadily, so fantastically, and you're evolving. Your thumbnails are changing. Your content is you're doing different things on different platforms. What would you say, Nick, to somebody who is like, you know what, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitch, or I'm on Instagram. I need to get on YouTube. I'm actually seeing this a lot. I feel like YouTube is
There's a big migration right now.
Yeah,
huge
like what's
migration
up with
right
that?
now from people. Well, people have been like going hard on Facebook, and then because Facebook is putting all these caps on everybody, people are like, what am I doing here on Facebook? Because when I put out a post, I'm getting limited for the amount of people that are going to see it. Why wouldn't I take the content that I was putting on Facebook, start putting it on YouTube so that I can actually rank videos and search and things like that, so that I can improve my chances of discovery all the way across the board? And it just makes more sense to people. So right now there's this huge migration of people going, as you know, to LinkedIn, because that's your jam.
Yep.
but of people going from Facebook to LinkedIn, and people going from Facebook over to YouTube also.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me, Nick, because it seems to me that people are finally realizing, and I'm literally living proof of this, the transformation, guys. With the help, please listen to this. If you're watching this live or on the replay or listening on the podcast, my man Nick Nimmin has been such an amazing help to me, growing a multiple six-figure agency where I help people with their messaging, with their content, with their brand, with their careers on LinkedIn, that I'm living proof, and I know Nick is living proof too, that video marketing, that content creation three-dimensionalizes who you are. It's not it's not about the vanity metrics, even though I don't believe in false modesty. I want 7.7 billion subscribers. I do, but I'm not worried about it one iota, because look, it's about reaching the right audience. How would you say, Nick, and I totally agree with you with this migration, and it's so lovely. Is that a good thing, by the way, Nick? You think that's a good thing to have a migration? Does that cause more saturation, or does it matter?
There's plenty to go around, and I think that's one of the things that, like marketers, for example, I think that's one of the things that marketers have to really understand is there's enough to go around, but it is important to make sure that you are trying to stand out in some way, and the best possible way that you can stand out is to legitimately care about the people that are watching your content. If you legitimately care about the people that are watching your content, and you legitimately try to help them succeed, you legitimately try to help them get what they want, then it will work out for you, because people can tell in the content that you share, how you communicate, all of that. People can tell if you're actually trying to help or not, or if you're just in it as a cash grab.
I love it. And John, I want to just jump in the chat real fast, if I may, Nick. John, it's so great to see you. You do it. Mike Phillips is in the house. Stony Creek, we miss you, brother. Chala Dog, Midnight Madness, is in the house. And yeah, John says something really interesting, Nick. He says, that's amazing, Professor Nez. I'm so glad to hear about your success. And this is one of my questions to Nick. I was able to take a skill set, Nick. I feel like, my major, if you will, superpower, as Pat Flynn calls it, is my ability to help people get their message across. Inspiring people to understand how to circumvent anxiety, because I went through debilitating anxiety and depression as a young man. So I talk a lot about mindset, and I love inspiring. I was born to teach. My father was a professor. My grandfather was a superintendent. I was born to coach, born to train, and YouTube is such a perfect platform for that. How would you say, Nick, I was able to take that super skill and translate it to my personal brand, i.e., my platform, right? My way of getting my message out there. What would you say, Nick, because you know way more about this than I do, what would you say, Nick, is a great way to identify that superpower that you have so you can create something around that? What would you say is a good way to do that? Is there a way?
I think there is. I think there's actually two. And one is you have to think, okay, well, there is the thing that I'm the best at, or the thing that I have like a natural gift for, or a thing that I have like a gift that I've grown into through the experiences that I've had in my life, type of gift. And then you have the things that like you really enjoy. They might or they might not cross over. So typically the things that you enjoy are the things that you're always talking about all the time, the things that you're always like, your friends are always like, oh, hey, talk to him because he knows, about that particular thing or whatever. Like that's the thing that you might be passionate about. But your actual gift, the actual skill set is that thing that people are always telling you like, oh, you're so good at this or you're so good at this. Or if you take the, being humble out of it, if you're like, you know what, I'm really good at this particular thing. You know, I mean,
take the humble out of it. I like that.
Yeah. And just say, you know what, I'm really good at this particular thing. And this, I believe, is my gift. And then moving forward with that and trying to nurture that gift into something better that you can deliver as a package, so to speak, to other people. So I think that it's really comes down to defining or separating and identifying what it is that is your gift, either innate gift or something that is that you've grown into over time, versus just something that you're passionate about or interested in. And the cool thing is if you can do the crossover to where it's like, hey, I'm interested in this, I'm passionate in this, and I'm gifted in this, then you're just writing your ticket. You know what I mean? Like if you can find that match, then you can write your ticket. In my opinion.
Yeah, I that's well said. I like the way you said that. I wanted to ask you, Nick, and guys, if you have anything in the chat you'd like me to ask our awesome guest, obviously super chats get precedence.
Yeah, D's in the chat right now saying he's really good at eating pizza. So he should do. So in addition to helping people master their mobile, he should help them master their pizza menu as well.
I could see. I'm telling you right now, D, you would go massively viral if you created an entire YouTube channel about the art and science of eating pizza.
Yeah,
I can see the channel header right now. I can see D just smothered in cheese or something.
I actually have a picture on my desktop right now of us in Cambodia with him with a piece of pizza shoved in his face.
Oh, yeah, wow! So, wow!
Right before we went gallivanting around the temple there. Oh. So yeah, I've actually got that picture.
Hashtag pizza face. We got it.
Yeah.
One of the things I also wanted to ask you, Nick, is I feel like people don't really pay as much attention to this. I really didn't want to get too into just like tactical stuff here on YouTube, because they can, by the way, guys, if you're interested in that, all you have to do, and I'm going to leave his channel in my description, in the show notes on the podcast. If you're interested in growing on YouTube and you're wondering about the sort of tactical intricacies, all you got to do is go to Nick's channel. And for mobile, just go to D's channel. And I'll leave both their channels in the show notes. But I wanted to talk about mindset and messaging. How do you handle, Nick? I mean, because I feel like you handle it really well. We see a lot of burnout, right, from content creation, and there's a lot of pressure. I can't even imagine the pressure that comes with 500,000 subscribers. Can you define that pressure, A, Nick, and then B, you seem to handle it so well, and I know you took a month off not that long ago. Can you tell us a little bit about the pressure and how you handle it? Because it seems like you handle it so well.
So, that's an interesting question. Okay, so the way that I personally handle that is I take a break when I need to. So, like, for example, if I was sitting here tonight and I'm sitting here and I'm grinding away on everything, and then I'm just like, okay, I've had it for the day, then I'll stop, and then I'll step away. If it's something that I have to get done, like an obligation that I'm required to do, then in that case, I'll say, okay, well, I need to keep going, a little bit longer until I get this done. But for the most part, it comes down to just knowing when to step away and when to go for it. Like, I have kind of these cycles that I go through in my brain, to where, like, I'll have, like, let's say that I have like 1 week and I'm super productive in that week. And because of that, like, let's say the following week, I'll have to just kind of take it easy the first few days in terms of not going too overboard, because I have a natural tendency to just sit in front of the computer and just go at it anyway, because I enjoy what I do. But outside of that, though, like, if I feel that I need to take a break, I'll go see a movie, or I'll go cruise around on my scooter, or go hang out with my brother, or, like, whatever it happens to be. But, I'll definitely take those breaks. And when I took off a month ago, I was still uploading content, still, interacting online and all that good stuff. I just kind of pulled back a little bit and just gave myself like a nice break. And it was refreshing. I hadn't done that in a really long time, and it was refreshing to do. But when I got back to it, I was happy to get back to it. And again, I think some of that comes down to enjoying what it is that you do, because with all the conversations on YouTube about burnout, and I've made videos about that as well, I think that one thing that happens to content creators that causes the burnout is, one, they work too much, in terms of just they're constantly like this in their phone, right? They're constantly, 2 inches away from their face with their phone. And that by itself can just drive somebody crazy if you're like constantly, putting out content or not. Just being somebody that's constantly consuming stuff on their phone will just kind of suck the life out of you, so to speak. But in addition to that, I think that it also comes with people, always leaving like comments and things like that. Like normal comments, no problem at all. But when people, you get like these rushes of comments to where people are either critical of the information that you're sharing or the type of content that you're putting out, or they're just downright hateful. When you start getting, some of those, then I think part of what happens with content creators in terms of the burnout side of things is they start taking that stuff personally. They stop forgetting that it's the anonymous side of the internet that makes that possible.
Yeah.
They start forgetting that, there's like 10 and 13 and 15-year-old kids that are on the internet, and that's how they think it's cool to act on the internet right now. So therefore they're, going out and doing that kind of thing. And it's not like a personal attack really. It's just the other people, that's just for whatever reason how they're expressing themselves in that moment. And people kind of lose track of that. And I think that some of that is some of the weight, so to speak, that they put on themselves. Like, okay, man, I put out this video and I got like 8 comments in here and people were telling me that I suck, or telling me that, this video sucks, or telling me that, X, Y, Z. And I think people really carry that around with themselves when, with everything, if you can just let it go and you can just say, okay, well, for whatever reason, this person, this anonymous person on the planet decided to say something negative, about me or my content or some, an idea or belief that I had. And that's just how it is. I'm not going to attach myself to it. I'm just going to let it go and just keep moving forward. I think that that's a good way to handle that. But I think also on the side of burnout is when you are doing this sort of thing, and you do it too, so you can back me up on this, but it's like when you're doing this sort of thing, it's like you're constantly making content, you're constantly thinking of different ideas for content, you're constantly talking to, friends in the space and things like that online. You're constantly, like researching different stuff or reading different articles about it or whatever it happens to be. And because of that, you get really wrapped up in it. And if you are somebody that doesn't know how to take a break, right, then like all of a sudden you have months that pass by and you're like, man, I haven't seen like anybody that I know, and like I haven't hung out with anybody, I haven't done anything fun.
Yeah.
I haven't, I really enjoyed myself. I've just been sucked into this, this tiny little space or this tiny little space. I've just been sucked into it for the past, few months, and my life is going away. And then I think things like that and thoughts like that is where burnout really starts to sink in.
Oh, I love this, Nick. This is
and let me add one more, if
please.
you don't mind. And I think another one as well. And like luckily I have my brother here now that's also making content as well. But like another thing is like when you are, and I think this happens with a lot of YouTubers or just content creators in general, when you're the only person in your circle that is doing it, and then everybody else has like normal jobs, especially if you go full time, and everybody else in your circle has normal jobs, and there starts becoming this thing to where it's like, okay, well, the commonalities of things that maybe we were interested in before that, kind of created that bond as people, like we might not be on that same page anymore because I'm going this way with what it is that I'm doing on social media, and then they're going this way with their professional careers. And I think that can also cause tension because you don't have anybody that can relate to what it is that you're doing.
Huge.
Because you're not sitting in an office space. You're not sitting, around a bunch of other people that are also doing what it is that you do, that have the same thoughts that you do, that have the same processes that you have to go through in your brain every day in order to get done what you need to get done. And I think that containing all of that and not having anybody to talk to that can relate, I think, is also another thing that can really help trigger people, the people feeling like they're burned out.
I love this because nobody talks about this. Nobody ever talks about how I mean, this is a weird thing. I mean, it's not a weird thing, but it's also a weird thing to be a content creator and somebody who's building not only just a message and a brand that helps people, but an actual way of life and a living, which, a lot of us are doing that. And we want more people doing that because if they're into it and they love it and they have the audacity, why not, right? I mean, like, do you have any friends? And by the way, thank you so much, Construction Crony, CK in the house. Hey, Steve Lewis, good to see you. Brianna's Secret Club, great to see you. Gary Cantrell
Yeah, they're
is in
local
the
to
house.
Thailand here.
Oh, that's
they're
awesome.
They're local to Thailand as well.
It's great to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. It's. Do you ever get this, Nick? Do you ever get because we're about the same age. We're not going to mention what that number is.
Yeah, however old that.
Yeah. You guys have to do your own digging. But do you ever get this where it's like they're like, dude, Nez, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing on YouTube, bro? Like, what are you, like 15? Like, people still think that me walking around, and I think you did a video about this, which was awesome, by the way. But whoa, thank you so much, Zaggy DK, for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much. I see people all the time, that they'll be like, I saw you on Instagram stories, like. That was kind of weird. And you almost feel there's a slight, I think it's
like you're being judged.
Yeah, sorry? This is if you don't understand 21st century communications, you would think that. But still, the human side of you goes, oh man, am I being a doofus by doing this? Do you ever get friends or family or is everybody just supportive? Like, hey, Nick, you're doing great. Or do you ever get that sort of judgy vibe? And how do you handle that?
When I first started out, at that time, I was, and that was part of me making that first video of overcoming camera shyness. Is that was something that I was worried about. It never happened, but that was something that I was worried about in terms of, I'm going on YouTube. Am I too old to do this? Is it too late to do this? Is it going to work? Blah, blah, blah. What are people going to think? That kind of thing. And once I got on YouTube and I was, kind of getting used to it, and I was getting used to the process of, uploading content to YouTube, I still had a lot of those thoughts. But once things started moving a little bit, then all of that changed. Because once things started moving a little bit and I started getting some momentum and I started, taking a positive turn for the cycle that I'm on right now, it definitely was something that I embraced in terms of hey, this is awesome. I'm doing something that not a lot of people even get the chance to do. So because of that, I just embraced it in terms of, this is something that is new. I mean, it's not new, but it is, you know what I mean, in the scale of things. But it's this is something that's relatively new and something that I am good at and something that I am able to tap into. And I just embraced that. And from there, I started actually being more confident about it and actually flipping that and looking at it like, man, if you're not doing this, you're really missing out because this is so awesome.
That's exactly right. Oh my God. I think that not enough people talk about this, the stigma of being a vlogger or a content creator. And it does look weird when you see somebody pointing a camera at them. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, Nick, if you would have told me, Nez, in 2016, 2015, you're going to be walking around with a tripod, right? Like doing storytelling through your iPhone or through your camera, I would have been like, you're completely nuts. I would never be so bold and brash. Do you think it takes a certain level, Nick, of audacity, or do you?
Without question.
What is the ingredients?
Without question.
Yeah, what would you say are the ingredients, Nick, to being a consistent content creator? Oh, and before you answer that, I want to say this. You said something about the break and the refreshingness, and I know a lot of people in the chat are going to relate to this and watching this on the replay. I've been going hardcore, Nick, for probably 4 or 5 years straight. And I recently did the same thing too, where it was only it wasn't a month, although I would love a month, but it was literally only maybe a week because I took my family on vacation. And not only did I feel better, but I felt I was rejuvenated. Like I was so amped to create content. It's almost like, I'm addicted to it, man. I love it. I don't know. And this kind of relates to the question I want to ask you, the ingredients of somebody who has the audacity to create content. I say this all the time. When I don't go live, Dee's going to laugh at this. When I don't go live for a while, Nick, I get itchy and scratchy. I mean, there's something wrong with me. I feel sick. Ray Bradbury, one of my favorite writers, used to say, if I don't write for 2 days straight, if I go 48 hours without writing, he really literally feels ill. What are the ingredients, would you say, Nick, for being a consistent content creator building a brand in this thing?
You got to have drive. Critical, mission critical. You got to have drive. You have to know exactly what it is that you want. If you don't know what it is that you're trying to accomplish, then all of the little things are really going to get under your skin. All of the little things are really going to become a big thing, because you're looking at that stuff instead of keeping your eye on the ball, so to speak. So I think not knowing what it, or knowing what it is that you want to accomplish, having, being audacious enough to actually go out there and do it, and put yourself, be vulnerable and put yourself out there. I think that is extremely important. And I think that really just the personal ability to just get yourself started. Because this is just like starting your own business or whatever it happens to be, to where, like, you're responsible. If you get your videos up in time, it's because of you. If you don't get your videos up in time, it's because of you. If you're not taking the time to learn how to use your analytics, well, if you don't do well, you have no one to blame except for yourself. If you are taking the time to learn how to do that, and you're using the data to make your decisions, and you're keeping the data in alignment with your goals that you're trying to accomplish, then if you do well, then, that's because of you also. So I think that just having that ownership of, saying, okay, well, I'm going to make this happen, and just owning it, instead of being like, oh, YouTube made this change, now I hate YouTube, and everything is blah, blah, and everything is because of YouTube, which is, that can happen. YouTube can definitely make changes. But in terms of, putting everything on them, like the algorithm hates me, the algorithm doesn't hate you. It's just your content hasn't gotten there yet, right? So basically just taking the ownerships for the results that you're getting, good and bad, and basically just trying to navigate through that. But really, a lot of it comes down to just personal responsibility, having the audacity to do it, and goals. So important, because again, if you don't know what it is that you're after, you don't know what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and whatever that is for you, if it's transitioning from one job into this as a side hustle or as like a full-time career, then that would be the goal. If it is, hey, I'm just trying to help as many people as possible and make a little bit of money while doing it, then that's the goal. If it is, hey, I'm trying to position myself as an expert in this particular thing so that I can get on TV and have like a spot on TV because I'm going to use this as my portfolio, then that would be your goal, to make sure that you're putting out that type of content.
I love it.
You know what I mean? So basically just knowing what it is that you want, I think, is like a really, really big one, because if you know that side of it, then you just look at all of this stuff as kind of like, okay, well, this is the vehicle in order to actually get me to whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
Well said. That's great, Nick. I love that. I want to get to CK's question. I have an answer for this. I don't know if Nick does, but CK left a super chat, and I wanted to he says, can you explain a little bit more about brand awareness campaigns on Facebook, Instagram, and maybe Twitter? Anything you should definitely not do? I'll say this really quickly, if I may, Nick. Definitely, if you're doing brand awareness campaigns, same thing I tell my clients, don't sell. Don't sell a thing. Don't even incorporate, CK, the mindset of I want to sell. You simply demonstrate, entertain, or teach. That's brand awareness. That's branding. You showcase and you three-dimensionalize who you are. And I would invest. I do paid advertising on Instagram, not Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook to get awareness for my brand big time. So especially because it's going to get more and more expensive. Google's CPC rates are already super expensive. But Nick, do you have an answer for that question? Can you explain a little bit more about brand awareness campaigns on Facebook, Instagram, maybe Twitter, what you shouldn't do?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, those are not my areas of choice. So in terms of those, that's definitely not my thing. But in terms of YouTube, I can definitely tell you that it comes down to what you're saying. Basically, just add value to the people that you want to be in front of. Think of, okay, how the target person or the target group of people that I'm trying to get in front of for my particular product or service, what type of content would those types of people consume? How would they actually expect that content to be put together? How would they expect the person to be presenting that type of content, and so on, and actually make that content that gets you in front of them so that you can offer your product or service to them later on down the road. But just start with adding tons and tons of value, right? Add tons and tons of value.
There you go.
And then from there, that is part of your awareness campaign.
Nothing changes. I mean, listen to what Nick said, you guys.
Yeah.
It's really the same. Here's the thing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. Nick is so humble. Of course, he's not an expert on Instagram and Twitter and his expertise. I love how he stays in his lane, but it's really, in my view, because I'm almost everywhere, but I focus on LinkedIn and YouTube. It's the same on every platform. You've got to give. You've got to help people. If you're talking about content marketing, inbound marketing, personal branding, those are all fancy terms. It's just a way of being like, I'm not here for you to buy something. I want to help you. So provide value. The algorithm is the same on every platform. They want you to keep users on there. YouTube wants you to keep people on there. LinkedIn wants you to keep people on there. So don't always be sending them somewhere else. Am I incorrect in that?
And it's also... No, you're 100% on the money on that one. And it's also important to think of, like how you're saying, like don't always be selling and all that stuff. Like be like how I was saying before about like care about the people that are watching your stuff. Like the same thing applies. Like if you care about the people that are watching your stuff and then you convert them into customers, then you're going to care about them as a customer as well. And you want to make sure that you're delivering the best products that you can as well. So by caring through that entire process, you create an awesome ecosystem that people that as they purchase the different stuff, as they consume your content or, whatever your chain is that they have to go through, that they basically enjoy all of the possible interactions with you.
Love it. And I wanted to just really quickly, we're going to get to, Nick, I don't know if you heard this earlier, but we're going to get to, I don't want to say a lightning round, but I guess it's a semi-lightning round of just some funky questions.
Okay.
And but before we do, I've noticed, and I want to talk about platforms because you're obviously got a huge presence on YouTube. What's your thought process on like these hot platforms like Instagram, right? Or Facebook or what? I mean, obviously Facebook's been hot for a while. But what is and LinkedIn? I mean, LinkedIn right now, especially with video and now LinkedIn Live. What's your thoughts? I've noticed you've been doing some interesting things on Instagram with your posts and these sort of tech close-ups and like shots of interesting technical equipment, not so much like you talking to the camera. What's your vibe on like, let's just start with Instagram. Like what's your vibe on that and what's the kind of method to the madness of what you're doing on there?
So there's a ton of people on Instagram. So the idea with Instagram is, I want to put out some stuff there that is, I want to respect the platform, right? So I want to put out stuff there that makes sense for Instagram. So that stuff would either be behind the scenes type stuff of, what I'm doing. But to be honest with you, like I'm not really doing that much interesting stuff, once I step away from the computer. My day is like wake up, do my morning routine, go grab a coffee, some food, come back, and that's pretty much it. Outside of like, maybe cruise around on my scooter or something. But like my day to day isn't like, hey, here's me on the beach. Hey, here's me in the mountain. Hey, here's me doing this. Hey, here's me on a boat. You know what I mean? It's just not my life. So because
wouldn't you guys love to see Nick Nimmin on a boat?
So because of that, though, I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to respect the platform, then what do we got to do? I actually hit up Roberto Blake, and I was like, we were at Social Media Marketing World, and we went over to the TubeBuddy office, and we were all hanging out over there. And while we were there, I was talking to Roberto. I was like, I'm wanting to do something on Instagram, but I don't really know what to do. I want to respect the platform, but I'm not really sure what to do. And he was like, hey man, he's like, for what it is that you do, you get a lot of equipment to do what it is that you need to do. I think it'd be cool if you did like macro stuff. Macro photography on there, and I was like, man, that's a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
So I started doing it. So I went out and got a lens and all that good stuff, and then started going for it with that. Now, keep in mind, like I said before, YouTube's my thing, Instagram is not. So I'm not as consistent as I should be on Instagram. Like I need to be uploading there, at least once a day, but 2-3 times a day would also be a win. But to be honest, I'm just not, really into it.
Well, plus you have you only have so much time, you know what I mean, right? Like you've got such a large channel and large obligations. I'm sure that it can't be easy, right? You know what you need, Nick? You need a team.
Well, I've got somebody that edits my videos now.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
So I've got that. I've got some other help behind the scenes. So I'm okay there. I'm definitely opening up some of my time, which is good. But when it comes to Instagram, I mean, it's easy. Like I can just process the photos and then put them on my phone. And then, once they're on the phone, then I can just do them, while I'm doing other things. However, it's just not in my priority thing because it's like, hey, everything on YouTube is just rocking. So I'm just going to, focus on that, and then have this stuff as just kind of a secondary thing that's kind of going, slowly growing on the back end. And it's not something that I'm really, going hard on. So if I start going hard on it, you'll notice.
I'll notice it. D says, fun fact, Nick can't swim.
That's funny. I can swim.
He can swim, for love of God. Launchpad says, hey, maybe Nick should use IG for his swimming lessons.
Yeah, right.
It's good to see video call in RPM Nexus. Kathy Fit, IG is easier for me. Interesting. Great to see you guys. Thank you so much. Dan Norton in the house. Good to see you, Dan.
Dan Norton.
All right, Dan Norton's in the house. That's a really interesting thing that you, Nick, I wanted to ask you, as you're growing, two things I want to ask you, then we're going to get to, guys, we're going to get to the funky Proust questionnaire, which is almost like a semi-lightning round. I can't wait to get, first time it's been debuted on Nez Nation Live, y'all, with the great Nick Nimmin. I couldn't think of a better guest to start this. But hey, I wanted to ask you, because as you're growing, as you're getting more and more of an expansive audience, you said you hired an editor. I mean, what could you teach people? So many content creators are like really married. It's almost the same thing with authors. They're married to their words. They're married to like what they do. How did you find somebody? How did you hand over your baby and say, hey, edit my videos? Like, what's that like, dude?
It was tough, man. It was really tough.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was tough because I really enjoy editing, and editing for me is kind of where the magic happens, so to speak, in the videos. And
definitely,
just the timing and pacing and knowing exactly where to cut and things like that, it can really make a huge difference on the experience that people have when they watch it. And because of that, I was really hesitant of handing that over. And I went through a handful of different editors first. And none of them were able to even remotely match what I was doing. And not to say that I do anything special, because it's just talking head videos, but just the pacing and all that I do, and the certain way that I cut things. Like, I just couldn't find people to do it. And then Vigard, I mentioned, I think it was in a live stream or something, that I was looking for an editor. And Vigard's actually come to Chiang Mai. We've hung out and stuff. He's a friend. And he also watches.
Shout out to Vigard.
Because of that. Yeah, shout out to Vigard. He's awesome. And because of that, he knew how to mimic my style, and he's a really good editor too. So that's part of being a good editor, is just seeing something and being able to mimic it. And he was able to mimic my style and actually add to it, which is a huge bonus. So in his particular situation, not only was he able to take like how I cut it and all that stuff, but he was actually able to dial in my colors a little bit better. Like my vlog stuff that I do when I'm out and about, like if I travel, that type of stuff, he was able to make all of that stuff sound better and like really nail the colors on those and things like that, which basically he kicks out a better product, by the time it's all said and done, than I do. So, because of that, overcoming that thing of like, no, I can never let somebody edit my stuff, which I said at one time.
That's tough.
Yeah. Basically taking that and saying, okay, give it a shot. Let's see what you have. And he is so good. And I can't give him enough props, but he is so good that, out of all the videos that he's edited, I think I might have had corrections, like actual, like, hey, could you, change this thing? Maybe only like once or twice.
Wow.
Out of all the videos that he's edited. And he's been editing now for probably, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months or so. So I mean, he's extremely good at what it is that he does. So
Vigard was a part of your community. He was a part of your audience, right? And so he recognized.
Like I said,
he's a friend.
He came here and we hung out, and
yeah. And so he recognized your video patterns, your video rhythm, pacing, perhaps. And so would you say to somebody, because I think that's a tough gig, is relinquishing control over your baby, because tough. I love editing more than I like editing more than shooting, to be honest. I mean, I love the whole thing, but I love the editing because, as one of my heroes, Martin Scorsese, said, the film takes place in the editing bay. Everything takes place in the editing. That's where the story comes together. And I love piecing together the story. I even think, and I'm just mentioning this because I remember he said this, Casey Neistat, who we both know is huge on this platform, he still edits his own videos because he just hasn't been able to find somebody who can, and he loves that process so much. I can't even imagine his workload and his time management.
Right.
But yeah, I think that I notice a lot of people are employing somebody to help them with that technical wherewithal, especially editing. And that would be you know what, Nick? Here's a video idea: how to find somebody to edit your videos that you trust. That would be a killer.
You know what's funny? That's
Have
a
you done
great
that?
video idea.
Yeah.
However, if I put that on my channel, it would probably get hardly any views at all.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I'm just calling it like it is.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Why is that?
I have certain videos.
Yeah.
Like I have certain videos to where sometimes I'll just take the hit on them because it's stuff that people need to know or stuff that I feel that I need to express. So I'll make those anyway. But like, for example, I just put out a video on how to do a live call-in, right?
Yeah.
So since it's a live call-in, I'm narrowing my audience down to the people that live stream, and then I'm narrowing it down even more to only people that would want to live stream and have a call in as well. So that video tanked. But basically, anytime I put out content that isn't where I don't have the masses in mind, it just doesn't do well.
Interesting.
So yeah, so because of that, like that video would be something that would be good for like channel members, to where it's just a channel member only video. That would be a good video. Now, in terms of putting it on my channel for the masses, not so much.
Interesting.
But for the channel members, absolutely, that would be a great video for them.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that I would definitely want to watch that and check that video out. Okay, guys.
Live streams, though, that's a good bonus about live streams is I can get out a lot of information like that I can't normally get out in a video, or that video wouldn't do well on my channel, just because people will ask a question in our forum, and then it'll be like, hey, when's a good time to hire an editor, and then I'll just go through the entire thing for them on when to do it, how to do it, and things to look out for and things like that. So luckily I have the live streams to help me share that kind of information.
D says, as your attorney, I advise you not to answer any funky questions. It's too late. I got Nick right where I want him, D. Okay, who's ready? Let me know in the chat. And by the way, Nick, I don't know what else to say, brother. I love you, brother. I think you're awesome. I think you're the most genuine person in this space. I'm not comparing or judging. I'm just saying I've just unbelievably gotten so much value from you. Like the shirt says, I've gotten so much value from you. And just thank you so much for being here. We're going to get into the Proust questionnaire. And Nick has no idea what I'm going to ask him. And this is a new kind of segment I'm adding to my live stream shows, just to kind of get beyond just the typical sort of, get to know you chit chat. Thank you, Michael Daniels, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. I want to respect Nick's time, so we're going to jump into the funky Proust questionnaire segment, and then I'm going to let him go on his day. I've got a client meeting coming up too. But I just wanted, before we get into that, I just wanted to say thank you again, Nick, and just keep being you, and you're awesome. And
thank you, man. And again, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. And I'm actually honored to be here. It's been a while since we've, had a chance to, have a public conversation like this. So it's just awesome being here, man. I thank you for what it is that you do as well.
Do you mind if I tell people, Nick, like what you messaged me on Instagram? And it's really, really complimentary.
Sure.
Go. Nick this is the kind of person, I think this is a good story. If you're new to Nick Nimmin, and you're like, okay, there's all these YouTube guys or YouTube experts or branding experts, marketing experts. So Nick actually messaged me on IG. This was a couple of months ago. And he just said, dude, I just dig your content, man. And I love what you're doing. And if you ever want to hang out and talk, I'd love to hang out with you and we can chat. And obviously he's been on the show before, so we're comfortable with each other. He's a friend, you know, and all that stuff. But the fact that Nick Nimmin took the time to say, I'm recognizing you and I'm understanding what you do and what you bring to the table and I want to be a part of it, speaks to me volumes about the great Nick Nimmin. And his brother D is just fantastic too.
He is.
So I appreciate that big time. Okay. Who's ready in the chat? I want to see a big thumbs up emoji. Who's ready to get it?
I also want to say at Vid Summit, I think it was last year or no, it was either last year or the year before when Gary Vee was there. Another thing that I said about Professor or about
I wasn't going to say this. Wow.
Yeah,
I remember.
Okay, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching Gary Vee, right? Gary Vee's up on the stage, he's giving his presentation, and I was watching him and I was thinking of Peter, and I was like, man, Peter, like he's better at this than Gary Vee is. Like why? Like Peter needs to be up there. And I actually pulled my phone out of my pocket and I sent him a message right then and there. I was like, dude, this is you, man. Like you need to be doing this right here because like you crush it in comparison. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that one too in terms of just how good you are at what it is that you do.
And I responded in my humble way. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Right. Best way to respond to a message like that.
You know, as humble as I am, I said, you know what? You're damn right. Yeah. Okay, Nick, are you ready? Are you ready? I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. I see a bomb there by RPM Nexus. I'm seeing some thumbs up in the chat. Nick, let's jump into it. So, Mr. Nimmin, I'm just going to throw these questions out. You answer as honestly or whatever you want. No, don't be nervous. It's fun. It's totally fun. Yeah. But some of them are actually kind of deep. I love it. So, Mr. Nimmin, what is your first question? What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Freedom. Just being able to wake up and do whatever it is that I want to do.
Awesome. Yeah. Number two. Great answer. I love it. Number 2, what is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear. That's a good one. Probably everything collapsing to the point to where I had to move back to America and basically live that life again.
Totally. That makes sense. What is your number 3, Mr. Nimmin? Why am I saying Mr. Nimmin?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like the guy. I feel like
I feel like I'm in the hot seat when you say it that way. Yeah.
As the jury will attest to, I'm going to ask Mr. Nimmin a couple questions. I have no idea. I think it's the career coach
objection.
in me. Yeah, objection. Overruled. What is your greatest extravagance? Ooh, this is a good one. What would be what would be your greatest extravagance?
Comfort.
Nice.
So basically like if I like depending on what's going on, I'll actually mix comfort and convenience. So, you know, I like to be comfortable, like especially like if I'm like traveling or something like that, because like I want to try to like enjoy the experience as much as I can, and I don't want to have to like in my brain, I don't want to have to think like, you know, like, oh, you know, I wish that, you know, this was more comfortable, or I wish that, you know, I could do, or I had this, or whatever it happens to be. So for me, it would just be comfort and convenience. And when it comes to convenience, it also comes down to, well, I can spend like time going around things this way in order to try to get something done, or I can just get it done. And because of that, you know, like I'll definitely lean on convenience on that one too.
Mike Phillips says, "Where were you the evening of?" I kind of do feel like a prosecutor right now. Poor Nick.
It appears that you've been living 2 lives, Mr. Nimmin. Like I'm in the Matrix. That's good.
Mr. Nimmin, you're in a false reality. God, great movie. By the way, I watched the entire trilogy again on Netflix recently. Loved it. Loved every second of it. Anyway, that's a side note. Mr. Nimmin, I'm going to continue this. I love it. Mr. Nimmin, what is the trait? This is a good one. Mr. Nimmin, what is the trait you most deplore in yourself? Is there a trait that you most deplore in yourself?
My lack of understanding fancy words. I have no idea what deplore means.
I love it. That's enough said. Enough said. That's it. That's the best answer. No, deplore just means basically what is the trait that you hate in yourself or you don't like in yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the trait that I don't like in myself would be, gosh, what would that be?
There's so much to like about you. I find it hard to.
Probably that I can be nice, and this would be like on personal effect, but it would be that I can be nice to the point sometimes to my own detriment.
Yes.
In terms of, you know, like just kind of putting myself out sometimes when I probably shouldn't, and that particular thing can cause, you know, like a little bit of stress where I shouldn't have it, but I typically just do it anyway. Getting better at it, but you know, typically that's just something that I do.
What a great answer, and I could definitely say the same thing about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm too nice to you guys. You know that? No, I'm teasing. Okay, what is a trait that you most, I'll substitute deplore. What is a trait that you most despise, let's say, in others? What is a trait that you most despise in others? John says, I need to look up the word deplore.
Hey, me too, man. I'm right there with you. Just negativity in general, like negativity and lack of consideration for other angles. So, or other points of view, I should say. So basically, like negativity attached to lack of consideration for others, other people's point of view.
Nice. Love that. Which talent, Mr. Nimmin, which talent would you most like to have? Which talent?
Does flying or invisibility, does that count as a talent?
Oh my
or is that
God.
more of a superpower?
Absolutely. There's no wrong answer.
Okay, yeah. Would I rather fly or be invisible? I think invisible, because then I wouldn't have to fly. Nice. So yeah, I think invisible.
And by the way, this questionnaire was designed to get deeper into the mind or psyche of an individual. So that's why I think it's kind of fun, and we're having fun with it. But it's also, you know me, Nick, we don't take this stuff way too seriously. So we're having fun with it, but it's designed to get into the psyche of an individual and learn more about them, who they truly are.
Now I'm going to have like a crisis after this, like going over my answers.
Exactly.
So we're going to be like, oh my gosh, what is my life? What am I doing? Yeah,
Mr.
It's all going to start collapsing into my brain.
Mr. Nimmin, you are having an existential nightmare. No, I'm kidding. Okay, what is a... Oh, this is cool. This is an easy one, I think. What is your most treasured possession?
Wow, that's good. My most treasured possession. Man, that's good.
So many, right?
I really don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
Because I try not to attach myself to stuff too much.
Ooh.
And because of that, I think it makes it difficult to actually treasure a possession. Like, I have some sentimental things. I would say like old photos maybe might be the answer to that one. Because I've got some like old photos that I'm glad that I have. But yeah, I don't necessarily have an object that I
Can I just answer?
That I treasure.
You know what? Maybe your most treasured possession is the fact that you don't believe in material things.
Yeah, well, I do. I believe in material things.
Oh, you do?
I
okay.
mean, I definitely do. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy, the stuff. You know what I mean? But
right.
I just don't like my brother and I have a conversation, like if we have to move, like, oh, it's gonna suck that we're gonna have to pack up all this stuff. And my solution is like, well, we can just sell everything and then just start new once we get there. Just because it's like I'm not attached to like trying to make sure that I'm holding on to all the stuff, right?
Nice. Okay, that makes sense. That's a good answer, Nick. I like that. Okay, this is an easy one, but I think it's fun. Well, not an easy one.
I don't know. You said the last one was easy, but
I know none of these are easy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to like ease your anxiety about this. It's not working at all, is it? So what would you... This is actually a fun one. Which historical figure do you most identify with, Mr. Nimmin? Which historical figure do you most identify with? Is there one? Maybe there isn't. I told you these were funky questions.
Yeah, man, that I can think of. I can't think of a historical figure that I most identify with.
Okay, that's fine. We're moving on. What is it that Nick Nimmin most dislikes? What do you most dislike?
What do I most dislike?
Probably
what do I most dislike?
It could be something simple too. It doesn't have to be like,
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. These are great questions.
These are great questions.
Write these down. Yeah, send me this list.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Nez has stupefied Mr. Nick Nimmin.
Yeah, these are good, man. I don't know. So repeat that one again.
What is it that you most dislike?
What is it that I most dislike?
What is it that like rubs Nick Nimmin the wrong way? You're like, God, I really don't like that. That sucks.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Yeah, well,
I guess just I don't know.
You know what? RPM Nexus said not having any M&Ms. That's a good one. I think that's good. Not having any. And by the way, guys, in the chat, if you have answers for yourself for this, if there's a historical figure that you most identify with, I feel like for me, the historical figure that I most identify with would probably be... I just really loved, and this is probably, actually, this isn't even a good answer, but I just watched this documentary on Ted Roosevelt, and I just loved his balls. I loved how courageous he was, and he did a lot of bad things, too, for the country, but President Theodore Roosevelt, I just thought he was a badass, and I was like, I love that guy. That guy's cool. But anyway, that's not really a good answer.
I have to admit, when you first said that you loved his balls, I was thinking to myself for a second, I was like, did I just hear him say that he loves his balls? And then I started thinking to myself, like, did that documentary show his balls?
Oh my God.
Like, is that like, how does he even know that he likes his balls. And then I thought of context, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what he means. Like his, yeah.
Check, please. Check, please. Okay, we're almost done, Nick. This is getting good. What do you regard? Actually, you already answered this. What do you most value in your friends? What do you most value in your friends?
Honesty.
Nice.
Just like if I have a question, or if I'm like dealing with something, like just being like straight up about stuff.
Nice. Love it. Yeah. Perfect. What is your greatest regret?
Greatest regret? Not starting YouTube sooner.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
Not starting YouTube like 10 years ago instead of 5.
You know what's really crazy about that answer is I literally think about that at least once a day. I'm not even kidding you, because when I think of Daryl started in 2005 and Tim started in 2006. I'm like, God, I remember when YouTube came out. And I was like, oh, this is cool. What's this? And I just thought it was just a cool video platform. You could search for long lost, videos that from your favorite TV shows or something like that. Oh,
when it was so small that you could refresh the page and it would just show you like, hey, this is, these are the new videos now. And then you refresh it again, like, hey, these are the new videos now.
Dude, that is a killer. I so relate to that answer. I wish I you know what? Sometimes I'm like, Nez, why didn't you start in like 2012 or two? I started basically in 2015. I didn't really get to know, after watching Nick and others, I didn't really get to know the science of YouTube till like 2016. So I could technically say I started in 2016, because then I started understanding, tags, titles, searchability, relevancy and watch time and session time. But before that, I was just posting videos. It's like, here you go. I'll just throw up this. And I didn't have any strategy. If it wasn't for Nick and guys like that, I wish I would have started so much earlier. That's a good answer. Yeah. Okay. Only one last question.
With that said, like with that said, I mean, just for both of us, right? And anybody that might be thinking that same thing. I mean, it might have been us starting when we did that helped us, be able to accomplish what we have. Because like if we would have started 10 years ago, maybe we would have had a totally different experience or a totally different growth process that would have led us in a different direction to where maybe it wouldn't have worked out. Well, so I mean, with that said, like I'm glad that, that we at least started, when we did, and that things have worked out as they have. But in my brain, I just think about like, man, I wish I would have done this like a long time ago.
Yeah, and Christian just said, and I totally agree with that. Yeah, because I probably wasn't in the right mindset, and timing is everything. And I think that even if I would have taken it seriously 10 years ago, you're absolutely right. I don't think it would have been anywhere near the same, because I didn't really have the skill sets maybe 10, 15 years ago. So you're absolutely right. And I think, Nick, you say this all the time. It's never too late to start. Start now, right? Yeah. Okay, absolutely. Last question. Oh, my God, Nick's going to love this question. Poor Nick. Mr. Nimmin, and this one's kind of heavy. I don't know. I'm kind of a little bit nervous to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I'm an open book, man.
Open book. Okay, good. Mr. Nimmin, how would you like
As long as it's not about balls.
It's okay, that's it. That's the end of our show. No, I'm kidding. That was my question. How are your balls? No, I'm kidding. Oh, my God. This show is deteriorated. I love it. How would you like to die? What would be the ideal way for Nick Nimmin to go from this earth?
I think suddenly in my sleep would be fantastic. So then I would know it's coming. Nobody else knows it's coming. I would just go to sleep and then it's over. Like I don't want to die in a way that is painful. I don't think anyone does. I don't want to die in a way that is, that's just long and drug out and all that stuff. Like we're all going to die. So because of that, like, I think that, just something, quick and peaceful would be fantastic. And I hope that that's how it ends up working out.
And by the way, that's exactly what I would say. I just don't want there to be any pain.
Right.
Because I've been in pain.
I'm sure it's going to hurt in some way, even if it means that waking up for a few seconds or whatever, like, on your way out. But yeah, I hope that it's something that doesn't hurt too much, and that it doesn't mess me up too much, so that, just so that I'm still like intact, right? Like I don't want to be like smeared on the pavement, for example.
Oh my
God.
That
would suck.
Oh my God, that would totally suck. No smearing, no horrible car crash, no battlefield. I mean, well, maybe a battlefield might be kind of honorable to go out on a battlefield, but
No, it's not.
My wife always says to me, she says, honey, you're such a wuss when it comes to pain. And she's right. I'm not a big lover of pain. So, yeah, that was the last question I had. And guys, these are just questions, fun questions, interesting questions. I want to create a different kind of show, one that's not always typical. I'm reading in the chat. Wow, this turned dark fast.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching it too.
This is not your typical show, guys. We get deep. We get crazy. We get funkadelic. But Nick, I just want to say thank you again for being you. I will be seeing you at VidCon, and I'll be seeing you at VidSummit. VidCon, I think, is coming up very soon, actually. Only a month away.
A couple of weeks. Mm-hmm.
When are you flying out? Are you flying a week before?
We're going to go out either the 6th or the 7th, I believe.
Cool.
And then,
awesome.
so basically we're spending 2 days in L.A., and then after that, because Brian G. Johnson's going to be crossing his 100,000 subscriber milestone soon, so we are basically going to be making a video about that. And then after that, then we're going to head to Anaheim for VidCon, and then after that, we're going to go hang out with our mom for a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's killer. Yeah. Well, I will definitely be doing my best to make it there and see you guys at maybe no walking the plank, but.
Oh, come on. I've been practicing, man. I got VR
You've
here,
been practicing.
So yeah, it's not going to get me this time.
It's not going to get you this time. Okay, good. Yeah. Maybe with your motivation, I'll make it this time. Well, dude, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much from Nez Nation audience, and thank you for just doing what you're doing, and keep it up.
Likewise, man. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for doing what it is that you do as well, man. You're putting a lot of really good stuff out there in the world. Like I don't always because you know how it is. You can't watch everybody's stuff all the time, but every single time that I do watch your stuff, man, it's always good and filled with all types of really good information that's helpful to people on multiple different levels. So that's fantastic, man. Thank you for what it is that you do.
Oh, thank you, man. That means the absolute world to me. And just really quickly, tell the Nez Nation, I'll leave all the links in my show notes. Tell the Nez Nation audience, those listening on the podcast, watching the replay, watching live now, where can they get a hold of you? Where do you want to direct them?
NickNimmin.com. All roads lead to Rome from there. So NickNimmin.com, NickNimmin. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. You are the best. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, make sure you click subscribe. We're talking about mindset and messaging, helping you build your online reputation so you can impact your career, your business, and get your message out there succinctly and concisely. We love you guys so much. Make sure that you stick around and go subscribe to our podcast. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on pretty much anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. We're bringing it every single week. I love you guys. Thank you again to our awesome guest, Nick. We will see you guys next time. Love y'all.